the internet, right? From cyber threats and, very many other things that happen within the internet, right? So can we move over to the next slide? All right. So you can see that, the threat landscape has outgrown the old playbooks. If you think about it, previously you used to hear something about antivirus, only antivirus. Most times you talk about when are we upgrading our antivirus so that virus no go enter our systems and all. But then if you are looking at it, that used to be the usual thing. That used to be whatever everybody used to know. You understand? So that's why we call it the old playbook. That is the old things that we used to know about, technology and all. But with the advent of With the advent of IoTs, Internet of Things, with the advent of the advent of artificial intelligence, we all see that as these things are coming on board, the cyber threats are increasing, and then you begin to see by the estimate of IBM. IBM is International Business Machines. It's a company that has worked on or has been working on cybersecurity and other technologies for years, over 100 years plus now. And by the estimation, you can see that over 4.44 million average global cost of, why am I not seeing these things correctly? Excuse me. Yes, average global cost of data breach in 2025. You can imagine average global cost of data breaches in 2025 is about 4.4 million. And then you have 10.22 million of what? Of record breaches. There are a whole lot of things that are happening. Big companies, small companies, everybody think that, they cannot be breached. But whether you're a big company or you're a small company, as long as you are operating within the internet sphere, as long as you are using technological infrastructures, whatever it is, you might be thinking, oh, maybe it is just your PC. No, it is not just your PC. There are certain things, even your TV, your smart TVs, think about it. There are a lot of people that are security conscious to the extent that whenever they enter, probably maybe inside the hotel room, you see them sealing the power points of the TVs. You see them sealing the power points, the webcam of your systems. Why are they doing that? Because when those systems are compromised, everything can be used as what? As a data collection point. If you're looking at some of these things, they are real, they are not factual. And today, we are going to dive into them to see how true these things are. And you can see that it takes 241 days for you to do for you to look through a threat, try to understand it, try to contain it, and try to minimize it. And then you're seeing that 1 in 6, I think this, I don't know if it is my screen, but I'm coming. Can you give me a sec? Let me open through my system and see. So, gentlemen, can you stop sharing? Let me share, please.
So you can share your screen, sir.
Yes. Can you see my screen now? Confirm if you can see my screen. All right. Thank you very much. So you can see that 1 in 6 breaches in 2025 involved cyber attackers using AI phishing and deepfakes. If you're looking at this, it means that in every 6 activities, 1 out of them uses AI and deepfakes. I don't know whether anybody had the news involving a Nigerian that scammed a French woman of about $800 and something thousand. This person used what is called a deepfake, imitating or trying to pretend to be an American actor. I've forgotten that guy's name. I think he's Brad Pitt or something, claiming that he's sick, he's in hospital. And because this woman trusted and loved this guy so much as her movie star, the guy was successful in whatever he did. He was able to carry out that attack until he extorted that amount of money from that woman. And before they could discover it, the guy has successfully made the woman to go bankrupt. So these things are real. Moving over to the next slide, you can see that optional made sense when the risk was small. A lot of people will think, okay, I'm running a small business. So what business do I have with doing cybersecurity? What business do I have with securing my systems? If I can just come online, do one or two things, and I close my system, I'm good. But that's not the case, because it is very, very important for you to understand that it is even the small businesses that you think they do not matter that get seriously attacked, because these attackers, they go in with different ideologies, they go in with different reasons. Some might just want to encrypt your data, some might just want to ensure that your business is put out there for people to lose trust, right? For people to lose confidence. But then going forward, you see that every connected processes, vendors, and AI tool widens attack surface a business must defend. So what do you talk about? When you talk about attack surface, you begin to understand that as long as you begin to show your technological footprint on the internet, your presence on the internet, I mean, there is a lot of dangers that has to do with it. That is the reason why at this day, most of us are still dealing with what? With legacy systems. What do I mean by legacy systems? Old systems that have not have the capabilities to protect itself, even with little or no human interaction, right? So we need to beef up this security and bring it in a level where we can protect it comfortably before we now migrate to modern systems. So when we talk about business continuity is on the line, nearly all breached organizations face operational disruptions, halted orders, stalled services, frozen supply chains. If you know the effect of an attack called DDoS attack, they call it distributed denial of service. What do these people do? They want to make sure that anybody who is trying to access your business cannot actually access it, because they will they might bring your server down. You understand? They will flood it with a lot of requests. They call it a lot of ping requests, right? Imagine when you are the one sharing, when one person is sharing a particular cake to 1,000 children, the person will be stressed. The person will be overwhelmed. Before you know, the person will run away or the person will shut down. So as long as you're operating within the internet, there are some people who are out to frustrate your business, to frustrate your activities. So that is what our number one is talking about. The regulation has teeth. As these things are coming out, as these technologies are widening their gaps, there are always need for us to create systems where we can monitor the activities of what is going on. You can see that data protection laws and regulators now levy heavy fines that rival the cost of the breach itself. You do not have an excuse to give if anybody that has to do with data compliance comes to screen your activity and you are not compliant. So those things you are trying to run away from, you will pay heavily for it. That's why most times we are being advised to take security very, very seriously. Now you have trust. Once lost, is expensive to rebuild. Now, think about this. Imagine when you are banking with some of us that used to bank with GT Bank, and then all of a sudden, you heard that, okay, the bank is saying that very dark man's mom, borrowed money from a bank, and then somebody is collecting the money back door that she's repaying a loan. And then you get this woman to come and explain what is going on. And she will tell you, no, I did not borrow any loan from anybody. I don't know where these things are happening. Now tell me, how many people after that incident, you noticed what happened? How many people after that incident would confidently want to go back to GT Bank and go and bank with them again? So as long as customers, as long as a bank trust is being broken, you have what is called what a reputational what damage. And even if you correct the issues, you will still not come out of it. And then lastly, you have AI is expanding the attack surfaces. So you have shadow AI and ungoverned tools were tied to what? To the fifth breach studied in 2025. Now, what is shadow AI? Now, imagine that you are very good at using maybe Claude, maybe GPT, maybe Gemini, and then every time you have a task, you go and put it in there. And then without knowing how to what, how the governance, what is possibly guiding those tools, how do you navigate it so that you do not what fall into the level of those who are abusing this tool? I recall, I think ChatGPT also was charged, right? That somebody was transferring his emotional challenges to ChatGPT. At a point, he killed himself. Imagine if this guy had idea about the rules governing these AI tools. He would have known how to use it and ensure that there is not everything or not every emotional feeling will you fit this thing. And most times, if you look at even ChatGPT or some of these what do you call it, AI tools, they will tell you AI is not always what correct. So most times you understand that this AI will always open attack surfaces, right? Because some of the things they do, they are not properly checked. So I hope we try as much as possible to guard against that. Now, you have some industry pay for more when the defenses fail. Now, some of these security tools, they are very, very costly. Like some of us who are in the Security Operations Center, there are tools that we use. Some tools like Splunk, if you have ever heard anything about Splunk, is very, very costly. So think about it. How do you now try to what? Provide such a tool? And then when you go to buy it, they might be telling you, oh, the tool is 1 million, the tool is 2 million, it is 3 million, and you'll be like, no, 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 no. I don't need this tool. Let's manage it anyhow, we'll see it. And then you discover that maybe you are being attacked. And when you are now being checked and they discover that this attack is actually real, you will pay 10 times over. I think, I don't know, but by GDPR, I think you are going to pay, is it half of what you have earned over the years? Yes. That means that if you do not get your defenses right, it will be difficult for you to make progress with whatever you are doing, as long as security is concerned. Now you see that ransomware doesn't wait. 5.08 million average cost of ransomware or extortion incidents in 2025. Faster detections and containment is the single strongest level organizations have to bring this number. So once you know the security architectures to put in place, as long as your business is concerned, as long as your activities is concerned, you will always scale through properly. Then the next slide says 5 pillars every organization needs to know. Now, there is identity and access. You see phishing resistant authentication and least privilege access for every human and machine identity. Now, you ask yourself, why are we always talking about phishing? Because most times you see that some of these people who try to attack us, they call them the threat actors. The only thing they know is how to prey on our psychology. Most times they call it social engineering, right? I'm sorry if I'm using heavy terminologies, but maybe going forward, we might want to explain what they mean, right? So they try to deliver some certain types of email to your system. And I know most of us have gotten, I look at it and say, maybe this is a fake email. It is called what? A phishing mail. What they are trying to do is to, bring it to your doorstep and see how they can force you psychologically to what? To click on it. And once you click on it, they gain what is called what? Initial access. But when you have a proper system of authentication is what? trying to verify who you say you are. And then the least privileged access is what? If you are in a system, there is always a required thing you're called to do in that system. So you must ensure that the organization or whoever it is that makes the provisioning must ensure that what you are only giving access to what you need to what to use and do your work, and that's all. Now you go to data protection. There are a lot of ways whereby data is being saved. If you do not encrypt your data very well, you are what? You are trying to do what? Invite people to look into that system, because a properly encrypted data, a properly protected data will enable your information, your activities to be safe as possible. Now, they talk about AI governance. Brings shadow AI into light with clear policy, approval, paths, and access control. Just like we mentioned in the previous slide, all these AI tools, if we know how to use them, if we know the rules that are guiding them, we must always what through and use them what clearly. When you are talking about shadow AI, is about what using a particular AI tool without having knowledge about proper knowledge about it. In cybersecurity, we can talk about hackers who can say those ones that are using tools without knowing what they are doing, they are called script kiddies. Maybe you just pass through something, you say, okay, let me try and use it and see the result it will give. Now you have detection and response. Until you understand that for the period that you are using a particular technology, especially when it comes to what? When it comes to monitoring what we are doing in the SOC, you have an idea that whatever that goes on in the internet, as long as it passes through a network, it must always be monitored. Because most of those things, most of them, I tell you, most of them are what? Are malicious. If you do not monitor them very well, they will sneak into your system and what cause a lot of damages. And this brings us to the idea that it is not everything that firewalls can handle. Most of the time, you discover that sometimes it is even insider threats. What do I mean by insider threats? People that work within the organization. Maybe we talk about misconfiguration of the firewall itself, and once there is that mistake, if there is no proper detection apparatus or proper response playbooks that are put in place, those threats will gain their way into the system and become an incident and cause damages. Now you talk about security culture. Every employee trained and accountable people remain the most targeted control. Now think of this. Most of us are talking about cybersecurity. When you hear about cybersecurity, you really do not know what it means. But when you start with what you're doing now, which is a good way to start, being aware of what is going on within the cyberspace, you get trainings, you begin to understand the importance of what you are trying to protect. Why am I trying to protect this PC? Why am I trying to protect this phone? Why am I trying to protect some of these IoT devices? You know that as long as you do not keep these things protected, your privacies must be breached at any point in time. And as long as your privacy is breached, nothing that you have is private. Nothing that you have is private. So whenever you have anything like cybersecurity awareness coming up, it is to let you know that, okay, I am within the internet space. These are certain things I need to know so that I do not get caught off guard. As long as you are cyber aware, you know that, okay, if I receive an email, I'm supposed to check very, very well to know if this email is coming from from a supported provider or from a trusted provider rather. There are a lot of emails that once you click on it, you give people direct access to your infrastructure. And once your infrastructure is not properly protected, it encourages what is called initial access, which gives way to what is called lateral movement. And when there is lateral movement within a security architecture, there is bound to be what is called what? A privilege escalation. And once I get a certain privilege, administrative privilege within your system, I can do whatever I have to do to take down your system. So it is always very important that from time to time, you train the people around you to be abreast with what? With current security trends, so that they know what to do, even when what? A security analyst is not what? Is not in sight. All right. So we come to technology alone won't what? Save you. Culture will. Just like what we said earlier, in the SOC, or Security Operations Center, we have three core pillars of the SOC. We have what? We have the people, we have the process, and then we have the technology. You can see that the people, first of all, tells you what is your role. If I, as an entry-level SOC analyst that I am, I already know my role. I already know that if I sit in front of what? In front of a scene, my duty is to do what? Is to triage alerts, is to understand the level of severity, which is higher, which is medium, which is what do you call it? Which is low, which is critical. I know what I'm supposed to do, right? And I am the person giving that office a life. So that's people. Then when you talk about processes, what are the levels, what are the NIST frameworks that you have to understand in order for you to identify certain things, prevent it, contain it? You have to, there are a lot of things you need to understand about the processes. What are the playbooks? Every incident, every cyber incident that happens has a playbook to which way it is what? It is mitigated, to which way it is contained. What you will apply for a phishing attack is different from what you will apply for a brute force attack. They are two different things. So when you understand that process, you now go to what is called what? Technology, which are the tools. But a lot of people, because they call themselves, somebody might say, okay, I'm what do you call it? I'm an ethical hacker. I am a cloud engineer. They just want to know bear the name. They do not even understand that there are what? Roots to these things. Before you become an ethical hacker, before you become a cloud engineer, before you become a GRC analyst, what are the processes involved in what? Involved in that position which you, the person, is occupying. In Nigeria, we so much care about, what do you call that thing? We so much care about nomenclature that we avoid the processes to get to where we want to be. So you see that whatever you are doing, you must understand the system, the rudiments of how that thing you're trying to do is carried out. Now we'll talk about the technology. Now the technology becomes those tools that you are using, right? If you're an ethical hacker, you're being exposed to certain tools, like Bob Suite, like I know Sam is here. Maybe you can still remind me about some other ones like Metasploitable, like DVW and the rest. Now, as a SOC that I am, I major with what? With security and information and security information and event management systems. They call it the tools. I deal with tools called the SOA, Security Orchestration and Automation and Response, right? I deal with Jira. I deal with a lot of them that you can mention, right? So I know that these tools or these technologies will help me to achieve whatever I'm intending to do much more effective. Now, going down to the rudiments, you can see train continuously and not manually. There are some organizations that when they employ you, what they do is they start battling. Okay, if I train this person now, what is the guarantee that this person is going to stay here and deliver on this job? They'll say, no, let's not train him. You must have 100 years of experience. And then when somebody now tells you must have 100 years of experience, how will you now go into the job and perform effectively? So it is very, very clear is most of them must now start, taking training very, 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 very what? Seriously. Because most times you see, they want to take you, they want to absorb your services, but they do not want to what? Train you. But one of the reasons why training is very, very important is as long as we are within the security cycle, there is always a trend. What happened previously, the type of attacks that happened last year must have evolved. And then if you do not train your people, or if you do not train your analysts, or if you do not train your cybersecurity experts, they will not keep up with trends. Especially here in Nigeria, that we feel like, okay, if we know how to build one particular thing, we are alpha and omega in it, nobody tells us anything, and we are not even going to make researches about it. Now, I'm going to make leadership visibly accountable. Now, most times you discover that, some of these executives that we deal with, you understand, they don't even understand anything technical about what we are doing, but they make necessary strategic decisions. When executives treat security as a strategic priority, the rest of the organization must follow. So when they understand the technical part very well, they sit put, make decisions. They will say, okay, today we are buying the next generation firewall. Today we are migrating from on-prem to cloud. Today we are making sure that we are creating our own security operations center. But without the executives understanding this thing and stamping their foot, the leadership will not translate to accountability. Now we'll go to share the responsibility. It is not just the duty of the IT persons to be conscious of what you are doing security-wise. Most times you find out that in the in the OSI model, there is what is called the step 8 or the level 8. Why did they call it step 8 or level 8? Because after application, there is what is called security. Now, that security is you. Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me? Oh, you can hear me. Okay. All right. I thought I lost it. So now, in this security system, as we are building it, there is always what is called a shared responsibility. If you look at what Cisco did, Cisco started with with networking. If anybody is familiar with Cisco, they started with building routers, building firewalls, building switches and all that. But at the end of the day, they moved from just staying within the security, the networking aspect of cybersecurity into full cybersecurity itself. They started talking about ethical hacking. They started talking about security operation. Currently, I am taking a course on Cisco, which is called Cyber Ops Associate course, right? But initially, they were just focusing on what? They were focusing on networking. Because they now understand that security is no longer for IT for IT technician. That is you understand? They now understand that this role, as long as you have a role to play within the security architecture, either as the administrator or the user, either as the administrator or the user, you must be a stakeholder in protecting that security architecture. Why am I saying this? There are a lot of things that happen in your office. Maybe they provisioned you to be a cloud engineer. Maybe they provisioned you to be a tier 1 analyst. Maybe they provisioned some of all these entry-level jobs. And then you do not understand that there is what is called a non-disclosure agreement that you have to sign as somebody who is working in an organization. Why? Because whatever that happens, maybe you go home, you love your girlfriend so much, or you love this your brother or your friend so much, you begin to tell the person how you configured a particular system. You begin to tell a story around something that is supposed to have its confidentiality, right? So some of these things, if you have idea that security is a shared responsibility, you will not be thinking that, okay, because you have one IT guy that comes to configure a firewall, your own business is just to, provision and deprovision people in a particular system. So it's not your job to protect it. And bear in mind that the highest cyber threat currently that exists is what? Is insider threat. You are working inside the organization, but you are carrying out certain things that might what? Hinder the security architecture of your organization. So if you have the training that you should have, you will now know that what? The protection of these your systems are what? Is a shared what? Responsibility. Now there is what is called rehearse the bad day. Okay, a lot of you will not know what rehearse the bad day is. They say run incident response drills before an attacker forces what? A live one. This is where if you want to be an ethical hacker, if you want to be a pen tester, this is where you come in, right? Because most times before what do you call it? Before an infrastructure or before a security architecture goes live, there is always an opportunity for us to test the system, right? And when you're testing the system, what are you doing? You're charged to test the system to see whether there are faults within these systems, right? Whether there are issues. If there are issues, then they have to look at it before putting it in the production environment. It's just like now, when you create a system without testing it, and maybe you misconfigure the firewall to what? To allow port 22, connect to any on the internet, right? So once you do that, you will know that your system, your internal server, or whatever you're doing in the production system will be constantly attacked using brute force attack, because that IP address that houses that internal system will be exposed in the internet, on the internet rather. And when people see it, they will begin to say, for an internal IP address to be on the internet, that means that there is a resource within this space. But if you do your internal drills, sometimes people refer to it as war room, where you begin to look for incidents, you gather everybody in the room, you begin to check. The SOC are monitoring, the pen testers are checking the web app or whatever it is, the ethical hackers are doing their thing, the cloud engineers are doing, just to know how fortified these systems are, right? So it is always very, very important for us to do what? For us to take this into cognizance. You have 51% of 2025 breaches were caused by malicious attacks. The rest by human error and IT failure. It's just like what we have been saying over time. There are people who, as you wake up as a good guy, as you wake up trying to learn, trying to understand how to protect systems, there are people who spend time. They spend all their time thinking of how to break a system. There are people, as I'm talking to you today, they are thinking of how can they rob First Bank? How can they hack NEPA? How can they hack NMPC? But in Nigeria here, most of us think that okay, you go to TikTok, you put your phone inside one babalawo pot, and then you do shararara and bring it and catch one Oyibo. You are claiming that you're a Yahoo boy. That's rubbish. What you're doing is what do you call that thing? What do you call that thing? Romance fraud or whatever you can call it. You have not gotten even near to being a malicious actor. You're just doing romance scam where you talk to somebody, you want to use social engineering, gather the person's information, start confusing the person, and start telling Babalawo to arrange one or two more so that when you talk to the person will fall. That's not what we are talking about here. And then you can see that what we have discussed over time, the rest by human errors and IT failure. Human error in the sense that as long as you are not security aware, whenever somebody is even targeting you, you might not know. You might not know certain things to put as a guardrail so that if I'm attempting to target you, I might not be able to get you. And then when you talk about IT failures, we spoke chiefly about misconfigurations. If you misconfigure certain systems and you do not put them in place, let's say you are going into a production environment and you do not apply the principle of layer defense. Now, what do I mean by layer defense? If a particular system fails, another system will pick up from where that system is, it dropped. If you do not have that principle, you might not be able to protect your systems effectively. All right, so culture closes the gap that firewalls can't. It's as simple as that. As long as we are cyber aware, as long as we understand the rudiments of the security architecture within the internet, within the cyberspace, we can now begin to think or reason forward in protecting our infrastructures actively. And as you are becoming more cyber aware, take it very, very seriously. There is a huge gap of cybersecurity professionals or cybersecurity experts in this world. As I'm talking to you, it just popped up on the news today that Romania is trying to revert back to paper and pen way of keeping information. Why? It's because they are afraid. Maybe they don't have what it takes to start protecting all their systems. But what do I call that? It's an act of cowardice, because even though you might not have what it takes to protect your system, you will not have to, go back on the trend of technology because you are running away from cyber attacks. You must have to live up to it. You must have to ensure that you position yourself, into ensuring that you create a foreground or a playground where everybody will have to be accountable instead of shying away and then running back to say you are no longer going to be technological again because the attacks are too much. All right. So essential isn't a budget line. Don't think that, because you are saying that is essential, you now start talking about, hey, okay, firewall is 2 million, firewall is 3 million. Do I even think that this thing is necessary? It's not a budget line. It is what is a survival condition. Why is it a survival condition? A lot of people who are involved in attacking you, they are upgrading by the day. They are upgrading. In this current season and time, you start hearing what is called ransomware as a service. There are people who build a whole level of ransomware and then start selling it to other people so that they can buy it and then use it against you. So until you understand what cybersecurity have come to do, until you understand the essence of shift-left security. What do I mean by shift-left security? Protecting your infrastructure from bottom up. Ensure that you do, for those of us who are into coding and into programming, there is what is called secure coding practices. Ensuring that whatever you're doing, even though you're a web designer, most especially the people on the back end, right? You have to understand that you must inculcate security into what you're building. Think about an app that you just walk into it without doing anything. What happens to MFA, multi-factor authentication? Trying to ensure that there is like different layers of verification, right? So access, map your real attack surface, including the AI tools already in use. So you must understand, there are some people, they call people, so check what is in our system, evaluate it. Is it that we are applying the wrong patches? Is it that we are not doing the right upgrades? Is it that these third-party solutions, if you go to some of your offices, some of you that work, you might hear, okay, we are using maybe QuickBooks, we are using, there are a lot of solutions, but you don't know if those solutions are upgraded because you do not have idea. But if you have an idea about that, you talk to your people and say, can we check if this solution is outdated, if the software is outdated? Can we patch it? Because a lot of third parties, companies, they might not patch their systems, and then they allow you to be using it. And once that third-party system is breached, your company is going to fall into a cyber attack, because those companies that are breached are the ones giving you the ground for you to provide your services. Now, the system you are using, how often have you gone to check to say, okay, am I still receiving updates? There is what Microsoft call Patch Tuesday. How often do I receive security updates, right? And then, including the AI tools. The AI tools you're using. Do you
Mr.
know
Abba,
that I might have a problem with my girlfriend now or my
Mr.
wife?
Abba,
To AI and start telling the AI, I
Mr.
married
Abba,
Bimbo.
can you hear me, sir?
We barely have nothing. She came to my house. She is having
Mr. Abba,
fibroid. You talk a lot of things.
Mr. Abba, please, can
Are
you hear
you
me?
worried where those data are going? So you must understand that the access
Mr.
that
Abba, please, can you hear me?
are where you are, what your pitfalls are going to come from. Now, invest. Fund detection, response, and identity controls before the incident, not after. You see, security is now more proactive instead of reactive.
Mr. Abba,
Understand that. It is when you understand that proactivity is the essence of you moving forward before an action is taken, to curtail the action before it happens, before you now start understanding that it is better for you to be proactive either than to be reactive. When you're talking about reactivity, it is until the action has happened. Maybe you have been compromised. Maybe your arm must have even been chopped off before you now start looking for safety. So when you start funding your detection, investing in systems like threat intelligence platforms like MISSP, what do you call it?
please,
Alien Vault OTX, a
Mr.
lot of
Abba,
threat intelligence platforms that will enable you begin to understand certain IOCs, indications of compromise that will,
Mr.
hinder your
Austus,
system before you move forward. Not until the attack happens and you start looking for, what do you call it? Is it AOC? I think I've forgotten that. Yeah. You start looking for indicators of attack instead of looking for indicators of
Guy, please,
compromise,
let's join the new link.
right?